So, Ski,
My guy, what's going on, Mark?
I have a question for you.
All right, let's hear it.
In the movie about your life, if it ended tomorrow, would the lead character have any regrets?
If it ended tomorrow?
M2M Ski lives like every verse could be a movie scene. Raw, real, and unapologetically his. Raised in Sacramento, his story took detours most don't make it back from, including time behind bars that sharpened his focus instead of breaking his spirit. Built from moments most people run from, his music captures the grit, growth, and glory of a life that refuses to play it safe. He's not chasing hits, he's scoring a legacy. This is what it sounds like when you turn your story into a script worth watching. This is the Rodriguez Project.
If it ended tomorrow? Definitely. I feel I have a lot to do still, man. So
Yeah.
I would probably have some regrets because, I mean, if saying life would cut short, I would have some regrets of things I didn't get to accomplish, but I wouldn't have any regrets in terms of saying that I held back or I didn't follow my passion or chase my dreams, because I've done that. So I'll be happy in that case, but I would be a little upset that it ended so short.
Yeah. I think that's always been my biggest fear is like, especially anytime I'm working on something I'm really proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I don't have this thought as much anymore since I've been at it for a long time, but I'm very happy with, at least I know I put my all into it. So there's that aspect of it. But especially when I'm working on a big project, I'm like, what if it ended tomorrow and I never got to show the world that? Because I know you have an album, like you're working on your first like project you're releasing to the world.
Yes, sir.
And like
Undeniable.
Undeniable
coming soon.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
sir.
like, do you think, is that part of it, or is it kind of like based on where you are right now and like the track you're on, that you like, you know that like you're at the beginning of the greatness?
Yeah, definitely the beginning. It's funny I say this is just the beginning, but I've been working on music for over a decade.
Yeah.
So, but it's still in the I guess you could say the eyes of the world, it's the beginning, right? So,
Exactly. Yeah.
definitely.
It'll probably be the beginning in 10 years or something like that too, for some people.
right.
You know, they're like, you just
came up
broke
overnight.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're best new artist. That's great. Congratulations. Yeah, I've been in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. You know how it goes.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, as we go through this structure
Okay.
of what a screenplay is, and really map that onto your life up until this point, whether you're in act 3 in the final act of maybe the first film of your life, or maybe you feel like you're just at the second act or in the midpoint of your whole life. Like there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but if we rewind and go all the way back to the very first frame of the movie about your life, right? You think about some of your favorite movies of all time. There's always that first shot that really represents like where that character is right now, the struggles they have, or like that world that they need to break out of to become the person they're supposed to become.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that first frame, that first image that you see as we're coming into your world that's about, it's a film about your life?
Gotcha. Well, I start young as a kid in elementary school. So I think the first scene would be me probably like walking up the steps of the school, my backpack on, see young me. And then I'll get to the classroom. I get to my desk. I start frantically, you see him searching for something in the desk. He's looking for something, you don't know what exactly yet, can't find it, right? Then you see the teacher, and this is a true story, actually get up in front of the class and say, I found a rap in Jalen's desk, and read his first rap.
What grade
front
was
of
this?
The 5th grade. Yeah. So that would be the first one. Read the first, so she'd read it aloud to the classroom like she did, and people laughing, a little ridicule. That would be the opening scene for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that rap about? Was that when you first started having something to say?
Not exactly. It was just me experimenting with words, what I thought was cool. You know what I mean? Just listening to hip hop growing up, and just kind of even taking a couple little phrases from certain songs and putting my own twist on it. I'm not going to repeat it on the show because it's very, very elementary, right? But it was my first time putting a pen to paper. And
would've
yeah,
been
it was a big moment for me.
Your first
I remember
album. Your first album would have been called Elementary.
it. Right.
Wow. So when you say like taking some of the hip hop that you were listening to, or some of the rappers that you were listening to, and then, you know, morphing it into your own, what were some of those influences?
Man, so my dad, he's a huge hip hop head. So he always played it ever since I was like a baby.
Oh, dope.
Big influence in the very beginning was Ice Cube, Eminem, Ludacris, T.I., Outkast. A lot of E40. E40 is my dad's favorite rapper.
Oh, really?
Actually, because we're from Sacramento, so he
Nice,
likes
yeah.
E40. Man, you know the greats, Nas, Tupac. Early, that's like kind of sums up most of it right there.
Yeah.
Like my very first influences.
Yeah,
Surprisingly
yeah.
enough, my first favorite rapper was Ice Cube. And that was
Oh,
the first
really? Wow.
song I ever memorized.
Which one? Good Day?
The song?
Yeah.
No, it was called Get Money, Spend Money. That's the name of the record. Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
So that's kind of how I got into hip hop first, was just memorizing songs. I thought it was really cool. So
Yeah.
I would just memorize all the lyrics and rap along with the
Yeah,
songs. And then eventually it turned into
that was before. I mean,
making my own.
Well, yeah. I think I'm probably, I got some years on you, but
Mm-hmm.
were you able to like look up the lyrics, or did you like listen and write them down? Because I remember like when I first, there was a "Wanna Be a Baller," you know that song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shot caller.
Yeah, and then it
28.
was like I forget the dude's name, but I remember we couldn't just look up lyrics at the time. This was right before computers, so computers for me. We got our first computer in 8th grade. I think this was probably like maybe it was right around that same time, but we didn't know how to look up for lyrics. We had to write them all down. So I memorized all the lines, but some of them were wrong because
you
I
didn't
couldn't even
know
tell.
exactly,
What's the
right.
left or right? I'm outside, I'm cold. I was like writing it down, and then
Yeah.
a lot, and I still memorize them to this day, but I don't know what half of the words are because I didn't have them.
Facts.
So like, what was your process? Would
That
you
was the
listening
same
to
in
it?
the beginning.
Yeah?
The very, very beginning, yeah.
That's
I was just listening to it and learning the words. Just keep restarting the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be so what are some of the songs in that opening act, right? So we see you rap, or we see your lyrics, and your teacher's reading it to them, and you go home. Like, what does that life look like, and what are some songs that you could see as like the soundtrack to that first act of your life? Would it be some Ice Cube, like
Some
that?
Ice Cube, yeah. Some Eminem, you know.
What from Outkast do you think?
The Aquemini album. It was like I just remember my dad had this big
It
case
wasn't.
of
Were they the two
CDs.
separate ones? It was after or before that. I think that was probably 2003. That was
The Aquemini?
I
Or
don't.
the separate one.
Yeah, the separate one was around 2003 because that was my senior year of high school.
Got you.
But
No,
was
I
that
don't think it was
before
a
that?
separate one. I think it was after.
It was after that.
But he had this giant booklet of CDs.
Yeah, I got one of those seriously.
Yeah, I just flipped through them as a kid, and I remember the Outkast one had a naked woman on the front. So I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this got to be good."
Yeah.
for sure. That, some Eminem, like I said.
What Eminem you like?
Well, in the very beginning, it was the Slim Shady LP.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm born in '99. That came out in '99, I believe.
Yeah,
I'm not wrong. So that one a lot, and I remember not being I wasn't supposed to listen to that record. Like a lot of kids weren't supposed to listen to it.
That was his first one, right? So it was
the very first one. Very first one.
It's so interesting to see his transformation from being kind of like jokey and funny, but then get more serious with Marshall Mathers LP. I think that was the album people started ripping in my high school and started selling CDs that were just ripped with his music on it.
Gotcha.
So we got it before even the album came out. But like, you know, you've seen his transformation, and I don't know how you feel about his music now, and like he has, you know, and the consistency and everything. But for you, do you see like a transformation in like when you started, obviously in elementary school, but like in your last 5 years, have you like grown into your sound tremendously like he did?
A lot. Definitely have grown a lot. Like when I first started, I would say like it's real easy for me to listen to an artist and make a song just like that.
Yeah.
Or like very similar. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it was in the beginning, was just whoever I listened to the most. I kind of would be influenced by it, pick similar type of beats that they would pick and make something like that. But, you know, discussing my real life at the same time.
Right.
So that's kind of how it started. But especially like the last 2 years, it's really been a lot more original, very original. And not really caring too much about, okay, what are they going to think about this? What are they going to think about that? Finally, you know, it's hard to shake that. It takes a while.
It's hard to grow out of taking from the other you know, musical geniuses that you're like formulating your sound. But then once you're able to kind of like drop all that and become who you're supposed to become, you can always hear your influences.
Right.
But once you're able to like rise above that and be exactly who you're supposed to become,
I feel like more doors start to open when you start being 100%, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Truly authentic and open with who you are, because surprising enough, like a lot of people don't believe it, but it's a lot of people that really resonate with you or with your natural story. So don't be afraid to
100%.
show it. That's definitely what I've learned recently.
Yeah. And I love that. That's why I'm so happy that you're here today, so we can really dive into your story, because, you know, the stories that we like, especially as artists, if you don't use everything that you like, your whole story is about, then you're not actually doing your art, you're doing a disservice to your art. So like, as we're setting the stage for like the beginning years of your life, what does that look like? Like where you're in Sacramento, it's you and your dad, like what is the family life? What's like, you know, what are your hobbies? What does that look like?
Let's see. Well, music, I'm always into sports. I'm the oldest of three. So I got two little sisters. They're twins. So I had both parents in the household. Trying to think. Well, they struggled with some addiction problems. So that was like a big factor growing up. Not like the hardcore drugs, but prescription pills and stuff like that, and alcohol.
How old were you when you kind of were aware of that?
Probably 6 or 7. Like 7, I think.
Wow.
It's a very vivid memory. I'm in the car. My mom is driving the car. I'm in the passenger seat, and my little sister is in the back seat. And we're on our way. We're actually going to go to church, but I guess she took something, right? And she's actually nodding off while driving the car. Wow. And we're like going into other lanes, going into the opposite side of traffic, oncoming traffic's coming, freaking out, you know, I'm like trying to wake her up. Wake up, wake up. Luckily, we didn't crash on the other side, but we ended up rear-ending somebody. And then I was like, that's when I was very aware of it at that point.
Wow. And that was around 7?
Like very traumatic. Yeah, 7 years old.
So I think there's a certain element of that, of like, as a kid coming across moments like that, do you feel like it made you have to grow up quicker?
Yeah.
Or like have to like,
for sure,
you know, controlling the situation to a certain extent?
I definitely do think, yeah, made me grow up quicker, because certain situations and scenarios where they weren't in their right mind, and I got the little sisters, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I got to try to figure out what's best to do, you know?
Yeah, it's one thing to just have to worry about yourself, but also to like have the responsibility to like your sisters are, you know, at risk too at that point. So yeah, that was part of like the growing up?
Yeah, for sure, part of the growing up. And then like there's periods of time where we weren't with our parents because jail, dad went to jail, stuff like that. Mom was doing her own thing, so we went with my grandma. So she played a really big part in my life too.
Oh wow! Did she live in Sacramento?
Yeah, they're from Sacramento. Well, she's originally from San Jose, but raised my dad in Sacramento. Actually, in the same house that I ended up growing up in.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah.
So she's always kind of close by.
Close by.
So yeah, so if that's like kind of setting the stage, right? So like we see you as an artist or somebody that can put some lyrics on paper, and then now we're getting into like what the actual world was around you. And was there a moment like this spark that kind of catapulted you into like the next chapter of your life? Was there like based on all of that, was there a moment that really that stands out that sent you on your like the next chapter of your life?
Okay, so I had a lot of anger as a young kid, and I would say what kind of transitioned to the next chapter of my life was probably after I hit high school. I mean, the high school, we're all growing up, you know what I mean? A lot of my other friends, they were kind of born into gangs, quite a few of them. So they're growing up, they're starting to do things that they seen their uncles do and their big brothers do and stuff like that. I want to be accepted. These are my friends. We grew up across the street from each other. We grew up, you know what I'm saying, in the same neighborhood. So I'm kind of just following along with it.
Yeah.
And I'm angry too. I feel like I got something to prove. So probably a big transition. It was like, more around junior, senior year, high school. breaking into houses, stuff like that. It started small. It started smaller than that, just, stealing from the store all the time, stuff like that. Hey, look what I came up on. Look what I got. You crazy. You always got something. You always get something. So I'm getting feeling some type of recognition from it, and then getting in fights and stuff like that too.
Yeah, and you are who you surround yourself with, and you don't know it at that point, obviously.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, there's a certain level you want to get to, and who you want to prove, that you're worthy, and all of that as well.
Then when you start getting a little reputation, it feeds your ego, and now you want to build on it and stuff like that. So that was probably a major shift. Started selling weed at school and stuff, breaking into houses, and then it just kind of escalated from there.
Yeah. So even selling weed, I know, now I think, now that weed's legal and all that too, and people can kind of see how drug dealers or just selling weed can really map over to an entrepreneur or an artist,
sure.
What you learned how to.
Yeah, I think it definitely added some skills to the tool belt.
Yeah.
But
so what was high school like then? So it was did it kind of just compound? Was a lot of that leading up to something, or was it
Yeah, I started working as soon as I could work. So I've always I've had so many jobs, right? I started working at 16. I got my own car, 16 and a half, 17. So I was one of the only guys at school that had my own car at that time. So, I'm selling weed, we'll go smoke in the car. I'm going to the car, so everybody wants to hang out with me, stuff like that. So finally getting some popularity, because before that, for the most part, I was never popular like that. I always played sports. Cool, people like me, people mess with me, but not very popular that. So starting getting popular, and then, like I said, really senior year, started getting into hitting licks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then once I graduated high school, my parents, they wanted to get out of Sacramento finally, and they had an opportunity to do so. They're going to sell the family home and move to Oregon. And I just graduated, had a girlfriend at the time, all my friends, I'm a guy, I feel popular out there and stuff like that. Now they want to move to some spot in Oregon, right? So I wasn't feeling it. So that's when I moved out.
Were you 17?
Yeah, that's when I moved out. I basically stayed in Sacramento, and they went to Oregon. So now it's okay, you're an adult, you're on your own, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was ready. I'm I'm ready. Come on, I'm going. You know what I'm saying? So that was a major transition too. It's okay,
that's a huge transition.
Yeah, real.
Because it's one thing if you were at an age where they could have just made you go there and you had to figure it out or whatever. But at that point, because you've all even from a young age, having to grow up earlier, maturing, and then having everything you need, you can make your own decision at that point. Even if it was no, you got to come with us. It's I'm about to be 18 regardless. So
yeah, exactly.
So how much older? How old were your parents when they had you? Do you know?
19.
They're both 19.
Yeah,
so you got
they were pretty much growing up at the same time.
So they're mid 30s or late 30s at that point where they want to go back to or they want to go to Oregon.
It was 2017, so they're born in 80, so 37.
Why did they want to go to Oregon to really
get away from the city, get away from Sacramento?
Were they still having their issues that they were with the
this
drug
point?
And everything, or they,
not as much, not really.
Oh, so they
it'd be a rare thing. Drinking, it'd be alcohol still,
sure.
But the drugs got over that, so that was a blessing for sure.
Yeah. So was there any point that it almost looked like you were going to have to go to Oregon?
Of course they were trying to get me to go, but I was very rebellious at this time. Like I said, I was angry. I was lashing out for attention and things like that, doing my own thing anyway. So there was no stopping me at that point.
So that feels like that's as we're crossing the frame into Act 2, right? So we have this build up. Now, in Act 2, that's where the fun and games start. You're free. You can, do whatever you want to do. Yeah. So man, what a transition at 18 to have that. I moved to LA I had just turned 20.
Okay.
And I was cocky and I can give me 3 years, watch what I can do. Right. I had no idea what I was going to do. So I had to come out here to find myself. And it took me about a decade to really actually become somebody that could actually do something with his life. So if you're at 17, you're staying in Sacramento, you got everybody. What's that chapter look like? So we're breaking into Act 2.
So basically, I just
are you rapping at this time? Are you?
Yeah, I'm rapping. I'm still rapping. So I actually recorded my first song sophomore year. high school. So
Did you show people?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I showed people.
I was-
Yeah.
I
My
just- I
dad
just
was
asked
always
'cause, like,
my dad's
yeah.
always been my biggest fan too.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
that's
like
dope.
my first like real rap like around that time, I showed him. I rapped it live for him in the car. He went crazy. He's like,
Yeah. He's like,
bro, that's really good. I'm not just saying it because you're my son.
Yeah. I'm
You
not
know what I'm saying?
blowing
He was
smoke.
hyped. So that boom gave me confidence instantly.
So he was always trying to. Was he always knew, and then he was trying to push you in. He was cool with you choosing that as a career.
Yeah,
that you
definitely. I was cool. Always cool with it.
had? Oh, that's amazing, dude.
He's even to this day.
And
He,
you probably felt so like you were probably happy that he was proud of you too. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It definitely felt good. And then that just gave me extra confidence. So like I've always been pretty confident with when it comes to music, but obviously that's evolved too because there were times where I was like afraid to go or shy to rap in front of people. But
Yeah,
now it's
yeah.
like I live for those moments. I'm always
Yeah,
looking for the
isn't that
moments.
crazy how that changes?
Yeah.
Because that's like so many young artists, especially with the internet now, because you have to be willing to put something out and get hate for it. And so it's that scary thing where at first it's scary, and then I think, have you ever received hate from a song or anything? Any negative feedback?
Yeah.
Right. So, but those moments, once you live through those moments, it almost frees you up more to be able to do whatever you want. But I think so many people are afraid that they're not good enough. They don't want to take the hate or whatever comes with it. And they just don't do it. They don't follow
Yeah.
the dreams because of that. So that was never something of, I mean, obviously like the ups and downs of that, but like you were always willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I started out definitely like rapping for my friends. Obviously,
yeah.
excited to do that. And like I said, growing up in sports, I was never the best. But then I found this, and I was the best. Like out of the people I knew, friends I knew, and stuff like that. So freestyle and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I think this is it. You know what I mean? Because it was just coming more natural, came natural to me. So yeah, to answer your question, I've been confident. I felt like even listening back to stuff when I first started, at the time I felt like it was really good. So I had like an overconfidence in it a bit. And now I listen back to it, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't as good as I thought. But hey, from that age though, it was actually pretty good. You know what I mean?
And
So,
you needed to think it was like I look
Yeah.
back at some of my first films and the edits that I did. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought it was the best, and because I had the encouragement to push it out there, that's what allowed me to eventually work on it long enough to get better at it.
right. Exactly.
And so there's a level of thinking you're dope, even when maybe you aren't at that time. But
Yeah.
but that willingness to think that then allows you to sharpen your skills as you go.
Mhm.
I love that, man. That's so dope. Did you ever write a song about your dad?
I mentioned him in some songs. So yeah,
Yeah.
like probably I haven't wrote a full song just dedicated to him yet.
Yeah,
But definitely talk about him in certain songs. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, you're keeping it truthful, keeping it honest. But yeah, so as we're in this second act, so parents go to Oregon.
Yep.
You're
I go to
in
Oregon. I move
Sacramento, you're the
in.
man.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is that? What is that? Yeah, take me down that lane.
I'm in the same neighborhood. I just moved across the street to my best friend's house at the time. So live with him. So
You
I'm
had a
living with
girlfriend
him.
at that time
I had a
too,
girlfriend
right?
too.
How was her influence on you? Like that? What they'll call that like the side plot, like the B story, right? What was that influence at that time? Was it a good influence?
I could say this is my first time being in love. Yeah, for sure. So you know how that is.
Need
The
that.
first time you're kind of like not thinking straight, right?
Yeah.
So
On
It
the
was-
phone.
yeah, it was a lot of that. Toxic though. It was pretty. As kids and growing up, I think seeing my parents fight a lot subconsciously played into certain
Sure.
behaviors that I had.
Yeah, you probably thought
And
that was love.
Maybe you still have
Yeah.
a little bit of. So yeah, that's kind of. But it was it was good times. Don't get me wrong, it was still good times. But I was kind of I was older as well, so it wasn't like she wasn't really telling me too much like don't do that or you know what I'm saying. Not saying I need a girl to do that for
Yeah.
me, but it wasn't none of that. I was the leader, so whatever I say we're gonna do, that's what we're gonna go do.
Yeah.
Even it was wrong, like we shouldn't be doing that. So yeah.
And you were at that time you were making money for like at a job selling weed still. Or like,
I would do both. Actually, at that time, I was doing both. I think at that time I worked at Sonic. Yeah, I worked at Sonic, and I was selling weed on the roller skates. Yeah, when I'd be at the roll up to somebody's car if I felt like they were young and hip to whatever I mention it, and a lot of times, I would. So that's what I was doing at that point.
They're probably there because they got the munchies anyways.
Right, right, exactly.
You probably smoked it all. You want some more?
Yeah, and then but eventually, I stopped working. So I smoked a lot of weed at this time too. I don't smoke now, but so I was selling weed, smoking weed a lot, and that's kind of what we did like all day. That was kind of what we did as in the friend group. That's what they did. They smoked a lot. I smoked a lot. So I feel like that played a big part into things too. I feel like, at least for me personally, I know weed affects people differently. Kind of tends to make me feel more lazy, slower, not as on point, but I was addicted to weed at the time.
Yeah. How did it help you creatively?
Creatively, though, I do remember using it to write a song. I'll just have something, sit in the car. That's where I write most of my music, is in the car. So
really,
yeah, and I don't actually write it down or type it down. I think this goes back from listening to the songs as a kid and memorizing them.
Yeah, wow.
So how I make music is I go through beats. I find a beat I like. I come up with some words, like a few phrases, probably the first 4 bars, sometimes a hook. A lot of times I start with, and then I just keep restarting the beat and come up with more. And I'm just rapping out loud. Boom, come up with more, restart it. Come up with more, restart it. So by the time, then I'm done with the whole song eventually.
Yeah.
And it's just in my head. I never put it down or wrote it.
That's dope.
So that's why I'm so good at memorizing my lines, because that's how it is. I just memorized it in the first place.
Wow.
I never wrote it down. I may have to type it down to submit some lyrics later on down the line, but that's how I make music.
Wow. That's amazing.
A lot of times I'll just be driving, playing the beats, and then coming up with the words while I drive.
That's dope. I can't wait. We're going to have you, rap a little bit here in a minute.
Looking forward to it.
But yeah, so how long did you and the girl stay together? Were you guys together for like the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I'll start getting into the next chapter. So yeah, we were together like 3 years. So like I said, towards the end of high school, started getting into some other stuff, breaking into houses, things like that. After I graduated, after I stopped working, eventually gets to the point where, okay, now I need money. Don't have anybody to support me. As far as that, no parents, nobody to throw me some money. So, and I was being kind of lazy as far as the whole job situation. I'm like, nah, I just want to work on music. And so I was putting out little videos and stuff too, but eventually got to the point where we actually started robbing people, what I mean? Like with guns, armed robbery.
Wow.
And
when you say robbing people, so like somebody on the street, going to somebody's house, car, like
don't talk about it too much, but basically it was, like a lot of people, a lot of drug dealers, stuff like that, or people advertise that they're selling weed on Craigslist. And me being the small white boy, no tattoos at the time, look very innocent, contact them. Hey, I'm looking, and they wouldn't expect nothing of it because how I looked at the time. And so that's kind of how it started. And eventually I felt like it didn't feel right in my soul.
Right.
So I was like, man, I need to stop this. Right.
You were doing it for the money at the time?
Yeah, for the money, and for recognition as well at the same time too. But I didn't have any money either. You know what I mean? So it was both.
And it was just you by yourself, or you with a couple other people?
Started mostly a couple people. Yeah, by myself like once or twice, but most of the time I had probably one other person with me.
Wow.
Just in case. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, definitely not proud of it, but it was a chapter in my life, man. I didn't know who I was, and I was, like I said, looking for some type of recognition as well as surviving, 18 years old, 19 years old. But eventually, to fast forward a bit, so a couple years of that, going back and forth, struggling, still pursuing music, still writing the whole time.
Did the girl know you were doing this at the same time?
Yeah, she knew, like, not everything, but she knew some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, after the last time I ended up robbing somebody, I really felt not good about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm smarter than this. I don't need to do this anymore. Let me get back working. I just got a new job at the time. Okay, I'm not doing that. That again, excuse me, I'm not gonna cuss, but so I ain't gonna do it again, basically. So I was done with it. But at this point in time, they were already doing an investigation on me, and I didn't know. So I'm thinking everything's good. I'm fine. I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna change my life. I'm not gonna do it anymore.
Still no tattoos or nothing. So
I had tattoos, but
at that point, you started getting it because you wanted to. Was it like what was the reason for tattoos?
I just always thought tattoos were dope. Something I wanted. My mom has a lot of tattoos. My dad has tattoos too. So I'm like,
just because
I'm getting a tattoo as soon as I can.
The reason I ask is because based how you said when you initially looked like somebody coming up that's not gonna do that, and then. So you kind of like eventually bypass that, or maybe you just hide it. And
Yes.
you would go and
What do you
know.
mean?
It's because like if that was some leverage to be able to go in and to rob somebody because they
Right.
think that you're not going to do anything.
Right.
Eventually, once you have tattoos, maybe they're like, wait a second, because that's somewhat associated, or that's
No,
a way of the past.
people
too.
judge book by
Yeah,
cover all
yeah.
the time. It's a survival instinct at the end of the day, but
So that didn't play. That didn't.
not yet. Well, I had like tattoos on my arm, and I don't think I get my hand tattoo yet. So now you couldn't really see too much.
Right.
But where was I?
So yeah, they're starting to do the investigation you're
Oh,
unaware
yeah,
of,
the
but you
investigation.
finally got your, because it's, and that's why it's so like perfect that we're talking about this as a movie, because there's usually that point where it's like, all right, one more, or like if you wouldn't have done that last one, then it never would have happened.
Right, like the
You
movie
know?
Blow. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen that,
exactly.
right?
Okay, we just need to do one more, and
Yeah.
that's after that we're done.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like it's very similar to like within your story. So yeah. What happened? So this is I would imagine we're somewhere around like this big pivot, which is usually like the midpoint, right? The midpoint of the movie. What happens?
I just turned 19, so I'm living on my own. Like about a little over a year at this point. I just turned 19, and I didn't know the investigation was going on. It was just another regular day. I get in the car, then I'm gonna go to the liquor store to grab something real quick. And I'm driving down my street I grew up on, street I have tattooed on my body. And I'm towards the end of the street, then all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 unmarked cars just come out of nowhere. Boom, cut me off. I'm like, what is going on? It's like a minivan, a regular like Prius or something. I don't remember exactly what the other car was. And they just come out, guns drawn. Freeze.
Wow.
Turn off the car. Boom. I'm like, whoa, shocked. My heart's racing. I'm like, what is going on? I don't even know what this is for. I told you I stopped, and this is like a month later after the last one, something like that. So, man, long story short, they take me out the car, cuff me up, throw me in a van, shackled to the floor of the van, and take me to questioning, to basically like a detective center.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was surreal. I was like, damn, this is real, man. So,
Do you think if that never happened, that the path that you were on, do you think you would have like relapsed and gone back to your old life at any point before this? Like if things were good, they weren't investigating you like three months down the line or a year down the line, do you think there's a possibility that you might have went back to that lifestyle?
no, I don't think so. To
No?
tell you the truth, I
So
don't
you
feel like I
learned
would
your
have, but I
lesson
wouldn't
and
have
you're
had
like,
the story
yeah.
that I have now.
Of
You know,
course,
I
of
wouldn't be
course.
able to impact people a certain way, and I wouldn't have learned things and met people in
100%.
prison that I was supposed to meet,
Yeah.
and all that. So I know it's part of a bigger plan.
100%.
But yeah, I don't think that I would have went back down that
Yeah.
and continue to rob people. But you never know.
Yeah,
you know?
right. You never know what life throws at you. But I mean, yeah, this is one of those moments. So you go into questioning. Are they asking you specifically about what you had done? Were they trying to have you give up somebody else? What was that like?
Yeah, they basically like presented evidence to me that was kind of like non-deniable.
Like photos?
Yeah, like photos, my license plate and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like, but we know you were with somebody else. So who were you with? And I'm like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Put my head down on the table, smacked it on the table, basically take me. So they took me from there. And wild thing about it, I'm sitting in the holding tank as I'm walking out, and I'm not gonna get too much. The case is closed now, but as I'm leaving the investigation room, and they're taking me to transport me to the county jail, I pass my childhood best friend. Boom, he's going to get questioned. Yeah.
About that? Were you working with him before
No.
then, or
I wasn't. So I was like, why is he here? In my mind, like, what the?
do you know why?
Doesn't make any sense.
Or they just questioned him to like about your character?
No, eventually they were trying to accuse him of the same crime, which he was innocent. He didn't have anything to do with. Case of mistaken identity. So
Wow.
yeah, so we're actually in the holding tank together, and like this is somebody
When was the last time you had talked to him before then?
probably the day before.
Oh, so you guys were very close still.
I at this point,
Or when you say childhood best friend, was it like growing up from then, or was it like the last couple of years before?
from second grade.
Wow.
Yeah, 4th grade for me. Yeah, so and that was who I went to live with after I moved out of my parents' house.
Right.
Yeah, so that was crazy. That was surreal. We were
So he didn't get charged with anything.
He got charged.
Oh, he did.
But he didn't get convicted.
Got you. Okay.
So that
it
goes
was
into
mistaken identity.
Yeah, that goes into the story later. But yeah, so we're sitting in the holding tank, and that's kind of, it's starting to set in. You know, like, damn. I mean, it was all these guys, you know what I'm saying, small little, we're just sitting in the holding tank. I don't know if you know about that, but it's just like dirty, super dirty, and just like sack lunches and stuff. People on the little phone thing trying to call the bail bonds. All that. So
and so and we'll move on from this, but was it like a series of things going on, or was it one crime in particular that they were trying to put up on you?
One crime.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're in there, and then eventually you go through the court process, and then what happened?
It wasn't a regular court process. That's the whole thing, and this plays a big part. So this is March 2019, and I don't remember exactly when COVID started, right? But I ended up
13th, 2020.
March 13th, 2020. Okay, got you.
Or March 9th, 2020.
Okay.
Like that.
So it was my first offense and all that, right? So my bail was relatively low. It was only $50,000. So that's 10% of that's $5,000. Yeah. So I ended up bailing out, and then they let you bail out with 1%. And I had $500 at the time. So I ended up bailing out 2 weeks later. Boom, I bail out. A lot of people tell me it's better to fight on the streets. It looks better, this and that. You may be able to get a better deal.
What do you mean fight it on the streets? Oh, being out of jail.
Being out of jail, showing up to court, you're in a suit instead of jail clothes and stuff like that. So I bail out 2 weeks later, and I end up going to live with a different friend. Obviously, I'm not going to go to the same house. There's a whole investigation going on and stuff like that.
I got you.
So from that point, court, they push it out a couple months, whatever, and it's like a lot of different parts that go into this type of thing, because he is innocent, so he's going to fight for his innocence, right? Boom. So that's consists of a trial. And me, I wasn't innocent and I was guilty. They had like hard evidence on me. So I'm like,
you took a plea deal or something, or
I would have liked to at the time, but I couldn't, because how it works when you have a co-defendant, you guys have to be on like kind of the same page. If you want to take a deal, he has to take a deal. If he wants to go to trial, then you have to go to trial. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm in it with you, man. I know you didn't have anything to do with it, so all right, let's see where it goes, you know. And then COVID hits as I'm kind of in the court process, and now I was like, at the time when I bailed out, I was like, God, please help me. Let me just be out for the summer, so I can have a little more fun before I have to leave, or live a little more life. And then COVID hit. Basically, long story short, my court gets pushed out 3 years. So in this time, once mind you, when I go to jail, I'm having a realization point. Like, this is the rock bottom moment. I'm like,
So this is before COVID or after COVID?
This is before COVID. When I first initially, this is 2019.
Got you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of just on the top rack, staring at the ceiling. You know, like, God, please get me out of this situation. You know, I promise you, I'm not gonna do nothing like this again. You know what I mean? Just praying, stuff like that. I've always had a relationship with God, even as a little kid. That's something that definitely needs to be mentioned.
Sure.
But we go off the path.
Yeah. So and I want to keep that thought, but what was at stake at that point? Did you think like, I might go away for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years? Like this case against you, what did you feel, what were the opportunities that
I didn't know, like nobody ever educated me as a kid, like as far as like, okay, if you do this, it carries this many years to this many years, or so I didn't really fully understand the consequences of my actions.
And they didn't tell you at that point either?
No, at this point they tell me, they're like, I think the first time I go to court and they give me an offer, it's 12 years. That's it. So that's why I'm hearing 12 years. And when I'm in the holding tank, whatever, going to court, I'm asking older people that have, been through the system before, and I tell them what happened, kind of not everything that happened, right? But just ask them, tell them my charges, like, hey, how long you think I'm actually going to do? Like, I'm a kid. I'm like, I'm scared. Shit, I'm scared at the time.
Sure.
So he's like, man, you're going to do at least 2 years. Like, I'm like, damn. And it was just hitting me like 2 years.
Yeah, that's a lot.
In jail, in prison, right? So I'm like, okay, boom. And but
that's also at that point, the uncertainty of like,
uncertainty, you don't
never
know.
It might give you the 12. Like, what?
Yeah. So robbery is 2, 3, or 5 years. But then when you have a firearm involved, there's something called a firearm enhancement. That's another 10 years additional if they want to put that on it. So yeah, I'm
Make an
spooked.
example out of you.
Yeah, exactly. But then I bail out, and I'm like, okay, well, this is my chance to, change my life. Show I'm changing my life, and so I cut off all the people that I was associating with beforehand, and I got really focused. I actually started getting into self-help books, and I actually enrolled in college, and just start working, minding my own business, and really just focusing on myself.
Yeah.
And mind you, at the time when I came out, I found out my girlfriend was pregnant. Yeah, so it was a lot going on me. So it was a lot of pressure for sure. I'm like, this is
The
it.
most pressure.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine like even like anymore, especially at that age, and just like it really can. That pressure can either help you or hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like
It made me get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. So over the next 3 years, basically looked like still pursuing music, still recording, but then focusing on the self-help of things. I started getting into sales. I did some door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
That helped with some things too, different jobs. And then I enrolled in college. I did a semester. So I'm just kind of stacking up stuff for the judge and character references. And COVID's still going through all this.
Yeah.
And so a lot of personal growth. I end up picking up the camera throughout, because I'm dealing with videographers for my own stuff. Certain ones aren't like up to par what I want, taking forever to edit and things. I'm like, and I had an interest in it already, so I'm like, hey, why not me? So let me learn it. So once I ended up getting enough money, I bought a camera and I started shooting videos, create my own company, my own LLC, and just doing my thing, growing. Yep.
Wow.
I had my own studio at a point, production studio that I was leasing, and it was cool, man. So just a lot of growth. So that was like a big growth moment. And actually, for a point in time, 2021, I ended up 2020, excuse me. I actually went to live with my parents for a little bit. Yeah, so I had to swallow my pride because it wasn't. I finished college the semester. That was still keep me there, but at this point, I'm like, obviously what I was trying to do didn't work. So let me. I went back and worked with my pops for a little bit.
That's great. I think a lot of people are afraid
Definitely
to like, they think it's a backpedal or their pride is too high. So I think for people like you, like I think it has for us to ask for help. Something has to happen because we're like, otherwise like, no, I can do it myself. No, you have to learn to ask for help. That was a huge lesson for me. And I'm like being like having the ability to move back in with your folks and just say like, all right, let me just recalibrate and get my stuff together. It's not a bad thing. It feels like it at that point because we're thinking about everybody else's opinion or our opinions of ourselves. But if you have to go recalibrate, do just that. Don't do that and get comfortable and then 20 years pass by.
No, exactly.
You're in the basement.
Exactly. No, it was a blessing. That's a lot of things. I find people in similar, not like the same situation as me, but where they have the opportunity where they could just, things aren't working out for them right now. They could go home and stack some money for a minute, but their pride's too high. And I'm like, I know how it feels. I was in a situation before, but if you have the opportunity, that's a blessing. A lot of people don't have that. Yeah. So I was blessed to have the opportunity to go back for I only went back for like 5 months.
Yeah, but that's a great time. Like, so necessary.
It was. And at that point, I was, like I said, I was already doing a lot of personal growth. So I didn't really have too much of a problem asking for help. Yeah. At that moment. So that was like the end of the beginning of the next year of 2020 is when that happened. Yeah. Went back and saved up some money. And I ended up, during this time, I met my new girlfriend. So, I went back to Oregon. We're talking and stuff, stacked up enough money, and I wanted to go back to Sacramento. So that's what I ended up doing. But yeah, that's definitely
That's where she lived? She lived in Sacramento?
Yeah, in Sacramento. And I learned, man, that's another thing. Like isolation promotes the most growth in my opinion. Like most people, they never get a chance to be alone. And they feel like they always need to be with friends or be in a group. And me going to Oregon for some amount of time, I didn't have anybody out there like that. So it was a lot of personal growth. Yes, me and my thoughts. And that's a big thing I recommend for all young people to go through is some period of time of isolation because then you really get to figuring out who you are,
Have you seen these, I think it's called like dark therapy, where you basically, they put like a mask on you, like a mask to block out the sunlight from your eyes, and they put you in this place and they bring you food like 3 times a day or whatever, but you have to, some people stay like for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 20 days, and it's like a retreat, but a dark retreat. So you're left there, and you'll see they have some great videos on Instagram where it shows them afterwards. They come out and they take off the blindfold or whatever, and they get to see the world again for the first time in a few days or a few weeks. And they most of the time break down because you get to you see this. I see this every day. I don't even really see it anymore.
Right.
But there was a time where I walked into this room after I built a studio, and I was like, man, like we did, like this is, or even you look at trees outside and just like get to really love and experience life again for the first time.
Man, there's nothing like
it's
it.
a really beautiful. So a lot of times they break down and they're so emotional. So I don't know if I'll ever get to that point, but that's that level of where you're isolated by yourself, going through your own thoughts and having to face them.
Yeah.
So was it initially like day one you're back there and you have to be isolated with your own thoughts? What did that feel like? Were you like depressed at that point? Were you excited? Were you like haunted by like what was that version of you?
I mean, yeah, I think obviously there's like loneliness in it, but like definitely a lot of growth, and I got more in tune because Oregon is very nature, like a lot of trees, and I feel like it's just a different vibe to it. So that I felt like played a part because then I started around this time I started meditating and things like that because I'm reading it and learning in these books that I've been reading.
What were some of the books that you liked? Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, for sure. So in the beginning, there's this one book called My Miracle Morning, and that played a big impact because it had me start writing my goals down every day, journaling every day, having a time for mindfulness in the morning, exercise, stuff like that. So it was more but that book was based around building a morning routine specifically, and then. Of course, I read The Alchemist. That was an early book that I read. A lot of people always recommend it. It's a great book. I recommend it too. And then Think and Grow Rich. I've read that a few times. The Power of Now. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I read this later down the line when I was in prison, but it had a big impact on me by author Joe Dispenza. Great book. Richest Man in Babylon. And so like, those were some more of on the personal development side. The Way of the Superior Man is also another really good one I read. And then I also have quite a few that I've read on the financial literacy side that I recommend as well. Like Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a good one to start with. Yeah. Unfair Advantage by Robert Kiyosaki is another good one. And Retire Young, Retire Rich, just to name a few.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did they drop 10 on them?
Oh, real quick, man.
But it's so necessary. It's interesting when you break through that threshold and you understand like there's so much knowledge out there, and however you can get it, whether you're reading or it's an audiobook or a podcast, once you become hungry to really maximize your human potential and become the person you're supposed to become, it's all there waiting for you.
It is.
But something needs to happen.
Something to point us in that direction.
Yeah.
Yep.
So at that time, so you ended up. So your trial got pushed back, and then you ended up going to prison for a certain amount of time.
So back and forth from court, 3 years, and eventually.
So that when you go to Oregon with your folks, that's during the time you're waiting trial.
Yeah, I'm on bail, but this is like height of COVID, like I said. So it wasn't much going on. They couldn't even have trials because of the 6-foot rule, and the lawyer didn't want to do it over Zoom because it's harder to read people's energy, body language, and things like that while he's cross-examining the witness, right? So kept getting pushed out. Boom. And I'm just growing during this time. And then eventually, 2022, March is when the trial takes place. So it's like a 5-day trial. And that goes well for my best friend because they're like, yeah, this evidence, this is not real evidence. Guy basically said he picked him because his gut told him to, and gets thrown out. But now I'm sitting there like, and as this is going on in 3 years, like my public defender or panel attorney is basically talking to judges like, well, would you be able to do this? So he's kind of telling me like 3 years, but it could, I don't know until the day of sentencing.
Yeah.
So
but
anyway,
still 3 years is like.
Yeah, I'm still like 3 years. But during this, I'm kind of been hearing that through these 3 years of on bail.
You're
so
like,
I'm like,
I wish it was already over.
Yeah, right. Would have been over already. But everything happens for a reason.
Sure, yeah.
Man, but I'm mentally prepared. at this point. Like I've been preparing myself.
And you're stronger mentally. Like
stronger mentally,
you can do
physically.
Whatever's to come, you're gonna get through.
Yep, exactly.
So what happens?
I'm feeling good at that point. The trial concludes. Okay, we're gonna have to take you right now, but sentencing will be in 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. So boom, they take me, go to county, and then I'm just at this point. I still don't know the specific time. I know it's 2, 3, 5, 12, or 13. That's the options. I'm like praying,
That's
you know,
difference
for sure, big difference, man.
Yeah.
So I'm stressing, but I'm trying to have as much faith as possible, and eventually go to sentencing. Sentence me to 3 years. So we had all the stuff stacked: character witnesses, college, my LLC, business, showing things that I've been doing, being productive in the meantime. So the judge actually, at this point, it's up to his discretion. And he actually, seen some type of potential. I got blessed by God, and he ended up going with the 3 years instead of, so the gun enhancement got dropped, and I got the 3 years, So I'm grateful, but at the same time, obviously it's 3 years, right? So that's how that went. And then
so what's that? So you get that news, and then so you already been in county, and then now they're going to take you to wherever.
Yeah, to prison.
The prison.
So I have
So
like a few weeks. And
so you're strong mentally, but then you get that news, and it sets in. What does that feel like?
well, I come back to the pod. They're like, "Oh, what happened? How'd it go?" I told them I get. They're like, they're juice for me. They're like, "Hey, that's good. It's good, great news." And I'm in there with people that come back from court, and it's over for them. Like
Life
they got life. Yeah. So I'm like, it could be way worse, for sure. So I'm grateful, doing my thing, and I'm rapping in jail too. By the way, I didn't insert that, but I was always like, even the first time when I was 19, I went in there rapping because it was a perfect place where I could prove myself more and get that ego boost that I love. I'm not gonna lie and say I don't like it, but the feeling from rapping.
Sure, but it's also building camaraderie. It's
exactly,
also building,
camaraderie and all that.
Some entertainment for people.
People that are going through some things. Yeah. So tell them the news, good news, basically, and I have like a couple, 2 or 3 weeks to get ready to go to prison.
But you have to be in county till then, or you get to go home for that 3 weeks?
No, yeah. I'm still in county.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and like nobody gained me up on what prison's gonna be like or what county's gonna be like. So I kind of had to figure this out on my own.
Was it what you imagined? Like when you go to prison?
No, wasn't exactly what I imagined. Some parts of it was similar, but it wasn't what I thought exactly. And, I really feel like what you think and what you expect, you attract, right? And I feel like I was in a good headspace. I had high vibes at the time. I had some people supporting me, things like that. And I had the opportunity to prepare myself to go to prison. So my ride was relatively smooth, couple of situations, but compared to like the movies and stuff, no, it wasn't exactly like that. There was parts, but luckily I was able to avoid a lot of the BS.
Yeah, when you say like situations, like it's like fights in jail or like just people like different sides.
Yeah, fights, problems with the police, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Couple fights. I've seen a lot of stuff too,
Right.
But as far as, a lot of stuff could happen in there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So would you say that the next 3 years, based on finally you're hit with, okay, it's going to be 3 years, so you've mentally prepared, and then, so how do you maximize your time to ensure that by the time you get out, did you end up serving all 3 years?
No. So I didn't know anything about prison. There's like different percentages depending on you're violent, and there's things you can do to get time off. So I ended up doing about 2 years total, a little under 2 years.
Got it.
And to some people that may feel like a long time. It felt like a long time to me at the time, but I'm in there with people that have been in there since I was born. So I'm like, this is relatively small compared to a lot of people that I met. And that's why I say the system is so corrupt as well, is because I met people the same age as me, very, very similar situations, who got way more time, and they happen to be black. So I do feel like there is a lot of racism that goes on in the system today, and that's something that there needs to be more awareness and more attention. And I know there's a lot of people working behind the scenes to, fix some of these things.
Sure.
Yeah, that's something I've seen firsthand, systematic racism.
Wow.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you bring that up, and I know that's something that comes and goes on mainstream media, but like it has to be corrected. how does that feel coming from your perspective, being in there, knowing that some of the other people in there got more time, but you potentially could have? I mean, do you think it's because you were white, or because you were white and you got your shit together? Like, was yours a fair sentence and then theirs wasn't? Like, what do you?
It's hard to say
like?
because there's different factors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like definitely in certain situations, I came across sentences that I felt were completely unfair. I can't say if mine was exactly because I'm white, because I definitely did do a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it did play a factor. I won't, disacknowledge that.
Yeah.
But basically, in the 3 years, I'm really working on my craft. I'm reading a lot, working out, finally getting into working out. Very seriously, you know what I mean? And that's what the 3 years looked like. Music, working out, reading, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was I took advantage of the time for sure. A lot of people just wasted it. I was on point every day. I had a routine. I'm writing my goals down. I'm getting stuff done. So
was there like a defining moment while you're in jail that you remember, that like a breakthrough or two that you can remember, that like, whether it was like a personal development, maybe somebody that you met in there, like, is there any real breakthroughs that you can feel, or was it like one big breakthrough?
No, there was a lot of smaller things. Definitely met some people in there that changed my life, and we ended up linking on the streets afterwards. Well, one person is specifically my brother. So that was a big part, and I felt like that was a big reason why I went there, ended up going there, because I wouldn't be sitting here today with you. I never would have met you if it wasn't for this person that I met in prison, man. So God definitely works in mysterious ways.
Absolutely. Life happens for you.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was able to do a lot of, I guess you could say, what's the word, field studies, research when it comes to reactions to my music, because everybody wanted to hear music all the time, and I would always be looking for opportunities. So
how so? Like, just other people in the prison?
In the prison, yeah, in the dorm.
Would you just be rapping? Like was there other rappers in there too?
Yeah, there would be other rappers. Like, some people say they rap, right? And then I remember my first time rapping in jail, I went into the pod. It's like probably like 50 people. And somehow I end up telling them that I rap, because that's my main thing. And then they're like, not believe. They kind of laugh about it, brush it off. I'm like, they're like, no, dude, he raps. He really. I'm like, all right, tell him to come down here. Comes down. All right. They're like, let me hear some. Boom. I go crazy. Do my thing, man. It goes up, right? And then dude don't even really want to rap after that. that was the first one. So it was,
wow.
Yeah, the time into the craft definitely pays off. So wrote a lot of music in there, and then just performing it for different people, performing for dorm. Hey man, do that one song. Boom. Some people like, I don't feel like rapping right now. Let me give you some soup. Let me give you ramen. Let me give you some chips. I'm like, all right, come on. I got you. I rap, whatever. So it was cool. There was definitely some good times in the darkness, I could say, where it's like, looking back, obviously I don't want to go back, but I'm like, that was a good time, good memory.
Yeah.
Some camaraderie, like you would say.
Yeah. Actually, let's play a beat and have you rap over it.
All right, come on. Hey, look, I always kept it real, so you can't say I'm not. Ain't a soul up on this earth could ever take my spot. I'm one of one, and like a bubble, I was made to pop. And when I do, I'ma talk to God and tell him thanks a lot. Cause I was just shackled and chained. Now I'm out, I'm getting money, and I'm having my way. I couldn't handle being average, man, I had to be great. And if you from where I'm from, then you have to relate. I ain't talking about my city, I'm talking about the lower class. Talking about the place that the people made just to hold us back. Look at how they locked us up after they sold us crack. And if you black, you got it worse, and you know it's facts. I love to talk about stunting and chasing chicken, but I also gotta talk about something that make a difference. So take a listen, cause in my verses I'm dropping jewels, giving knowledge and wisdom, something I got to do. Yeah, cause this is deeper than rap. No fabrication in my statements, all I'm speaking is facts. If you patient, yeah, make it. If you ain't, you'll crash. I took losses in this game, but I'm making them back. Yeah, look, and I'm just trying to make a difference. I would let it stay and kick it, but I can't, I'm on a mission. They tell me, ski, you tripping, life is short, staying chill. How the fuck am I supposed to chill when my granny can't pay her bills, huh? Can you riddle me that? Maybe I have time to chill after my victory lap. To them, my only focus is killing these tracks. So much weight up on my shoulders, shit is killing my back. But this the reason I'm here. My people need me for real. So lately, I've been like a safety working deep in the field. God told me this the type of shit they needin' to hear. Cause most of the music that we listen to is keeping us here. Ski. Woo! Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on. Love, appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Wow. I get it. Listen, man, I've been following your journey, and you know, obviously with everything you're doing on social media, and excited for your project and everything. But to experience it live, man, that's my favorite thing to do. Once I get people in the room and I can actually perform live, I feel like if I'm not able to capture you or turn you into a believer, then maybe you just really don't like hip hop or you don't like me for some reason. Yeah. Well, yeah, you can't convince the unconvincible.
Right.
But I mean, when you see greatness, and I think that's what, like, as you're doing like the live, I just saw the live you did with what's his name, influencer.
Kai.
You do with Kai.
Mm-hmm.
You were on. So that was a battle.
It was like a little rap battle.
Yeah. So
cool.
doing like just seeing like the response from people on that. You shared that clip of it on your Instagram, and just seeing how everybody can see it. Everybody that experiences it can really feel it. And in person, there's nothing like it.
Hey, love, man. I appreciate you. For real.
I can say that for real now because I've seen that. So now, you know, within the performance you've had, whether they were in prison or some shows back in the day, is there a moment, like a show that you had early on that you can see or you remember like very fondly of, that maybe gave you some more like push forward? Like, were you doing shows back in the day, or was it most like
I did a couple before I left. I did a couple. Those were definitely confidence boosters.
Yeah.
But I feel like prison really solidified it because I'm in there with gang members, tattoos all on their face, all kinds of different people, right? So, and the way they were feeling it, you know, that gave me that real extra validation. I'm like, okay, if I can convince, you know what I'm saying, these people, they're fucking with me like this, excuse my language, then wait till I get out, you know what I'm saying, to the world. So that was the nail in the coffin. And then, I went through a rebranding phase, was able to plan my next moves from when I was released, and just hit the ground running.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And where did Ski come from? Have you always been Ski? Or
no, so my last name is Monarski. That's actually what I used to go by with music, but people couldn't say it right or
was that part of the rebrand, or that was early on?
So no, this was when I got to jail. I'm like rapping for people, and I had this idea of using Ski because I started doing these things called ski mixes instead of remixes, ski mix, and I was doing videos before I went and had to turn myself in. So when I'm rapping in jail, I'm like, hey, what do you guys think? I should keep going by Monarski, or you think Ski? They're like, Ski. You feel that Ski? Like, that's it. I'm like, yeah, you know, it's got a ring to it. Yeah. Way more catchy, short. People, you know, can remember it. Yeah. So that's why I came out as Ski, and then the journey of M2M Ski started there. Yeah.
Wow. So now, so even when we look at your life as a movie, it feels like we're just now getting into that, like, the act 3, and like, so what do you see as like this next phase? Like, because if you've overcome so much and you've really, you know, built yourself into the version of Ski that you're supposed to become. So what's this next chapter look like for you? What's act 3 feel like of movie 1? Because it feels like we're gonna have several sequels. Right. Well.
Oh man, just building awareness of the brand, continue to get on all these platforms, shows. We got some big things in the works for later this year. So bigger shows, and then eventually it looks like me getting on somebody's tour, and you know, spreading the brand awareness from there to doing my own, headlining my own tours, international. That's the goal. Europe, Japan, all that good stuff, man. So that's what it's looking like. That's what I'm focused on.
And you talked about some of your the artists that you liked growing up, right? And so now, who are some people that you really love what they're doing in the game?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot since I was a kid. Nipsey, he's my favorite artist. Obviously, he's not putting. I think there actually is a new project that's going to be coming out with him on it, so I'm excited for that. But other than that, no more new music from him, unfortunately. J. Cole played a big influence. He's somebody I listen to now. I like Joyner Lucas.
Love Joyner.
Yeah, I like taking inspiration from Meek Mill, man. Even some of the stuff that LaRussell's been doing, been taking some inspiration from that too. Trying to think, I always leave somebody out. Current, you know what I mean? There's a lot of great artists, and I go through different phases of listening to different people.
For sure. Yeah, I think what I'm also seeing, like with your ability to use the internet, one thing I love about Joyner Lucas, I first heard him when he did that song with Eminem. You know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, Lucky You.
Lucky You.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who is this?
Yeah,
and but how he how the visuals that he has with his projects and the thought and the concepts that he's able to create. I see, like, as you're like creating new concepts and stuff too, and like how to really use the space to give a visual representation that's gonna like launch the song even further. So I love seeing what you're building on everything too, and your ability to be a videographer and be behind the camera and everything, but then even, you know, bring that into your visuals. It's good. It makes your visuals that much stronger because you have that additional eye, like that level of expertise.
Yeah,
so
it's exciting.
Yeah. So what are these? So if we're getting into this act 3, eventually we have the final shot, right? Typically in a movie, the last shot that we leave people with oftentimes mirrors that opening image, which, as you said before, was the opening image was you in elementary school. Teacher finds the rap that you wrote, reads it to the class, everybody's laughing. What is that closing image? I don't know if it's a closing image in the next couple of years. I don't know if it's you when you're 85. What is that closing image of your film?
Man, for this film, probably me, because I'm gonna be doing a lot of work with schools and the youth. That's part of my purpose. So me either walking up the steps to that same elementary school to go speak,
chills, man.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speak, do an assembly, or at my high school that I graduated from.
That's so dope, man. Just you walking up the same steps.
Same steps you see.
Bigger shoes.
Yeah.
Different
Bigger
rap.
Exactly.
You give it to the teacher to read.
Right,
You
she's
read
all
it
old.
all the kids in the class.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's like, I mean, man, of all the adversity that you faced, just being who you were surrounded by, who you were, who you've become now, and you being able to express yourself through your music to be truthful about your journey and to inspire other people. That's what life's all about to me. So I love everything you're doing, man. This is really,
Thank you, brother.
really exciting.
Likewise, man.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where we kind of conclude the film for this one. Definitely keep us in the loop on everything. We're on socials and everything. Where can they find you?
Yep, on social media, Instagram is M2M_ski, SKI. On all music platforms, M2M $KI. And then that pretty much sums it up as far as those. We got the new project, Undeniable.
Ooh, you're listening to this is probably out.
Oh, yes, sir. If it's out, you know what to do. Hey, tap in with it, because this is definitely going to be a great representation of the beginning chapter of my story.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna end off getting to LA. So yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Awesome. And so the last thing I wanted to ask is just based on your journey thus far, like, what is, like, maybe like a one sentence theme or something that encompasses, like, maybe the struggles that you've come and like the adversity which you've been able to overcome. Is there like a way to encompass like your mission in life or what your mission has been so far? Anything that comes to mind?
Inspire. That's it, man. That's the purpose. Inspire. I feel like the youth are the most impressionable, but it doesn't just stop there. Inspire people older than me as well. So I feel like that's what God put me on earth for, and that's what I'm gonna continue to do.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Well,
thank you again for coming on and for being here. Looking forward to seeing what's next and checking out the new project. And we'll see you all next time.
All right, love.